Good evening and welcome to this live session. Uh, this is Coach K. I'm the founder and the race director of OT Ultra. I'm extremely happy to connect all of you today. This is indeed my first live session on Facebook for the OT Ultra event. I'm very excited to say that I would like to have a conversation. So we decided to have a conversation with the Foodstrong founders. So before we jump into the session, little details about the Ooty Ultra this year. As you all know, the pandemic has put a lot of stress in our running engine, but we have decided not to bother about it. All of you have shown a lot of resilience and continue to stay active and fit, and also think about all the great memories that occurred in the past, and also dream about all your achievements, whether it is personal life or professional, or even thinking about the Ooty Ultra next year. But this year, the event is going to be a virtual event. The spirit of Ultramalaivasi run. So the idea is to unite all of us in spirits. Still, the pandemic is not over, and we need to continue to exercise utmost caution and safety and continue to enjoy our life. So this year, virtual event will happen between the 1st and 4th of April. The same excitement, Ooty Ultra is known for its toughness. So we have the 15K, 30K, 60K, and also 90K distances. All right, sorry for that interruption. And then let's talk about this year's event is supported by a very passionate set of partners. Gawati, our title sponsor. I'm also happy that they continue to support the Ooty Ultra spirit and also the initiatives around this Ooty Ultra campaign. So this year they have really shown a lot of excitement in jumping and talking about the virtual run. I'm also happy to announce our co-sponsors, Twin Birds, Foodstrong. That's a session all about Thillais, and also Ash Forest, Pastanap, and also this event is supported by uh, really great partners like Hailsa, 42 Chem Store for the t-shirt. So I'm already wearing one, HDOT, and also Runwind. Ooty Ultra is all about excitements, goodie bags. Of course, this year working really hard to make sure that you're not left alone. So there's going to be a lot of excitement and t-shirt. I'm wearing one medal, the same medal that you will see shining in your hand. But only thing is you must complete the registered distance in one single attempt. Of course, you can register now. The registration is on. But before we kind of talk about the registrations, let's jump into today's session. I would like to welcome and also introduce Avartan. Avartan is the founder and also one of the co-founders and director of Foodstrong. Hi, Avartan. How are you doing?
Hi, Coach K. Hi, everyone.
Okay, Avartan, we know that Foodstrong has been an exciting brand, a fresh brand, which is launched right in the middle of the pandemic. So why don't you tell us a little more about your story and also what exactly brought you into this business?
Absolutely, Coach K. First of all, thank you so much for inviting me to the session. It's a real privilege to be associated with someone like you and with the larger Uti Ultra community that's managing to keep up the spirit and the passion, of running even in these pandemic times. So, all power to all you folks. It's a real privilege to be here. Um, a little bit about me and my co-founder. Actually, my co-founder and I, both became parents at a little late stage in life. So she has a 7-year-old and a 9-year-old, and I have a 4-year-old daughter. And we were chatting one day, and we realized that we'd spent most of the first parts of our the first decade and a half of our careers really living the jet setting life, abusing our bodies left, right, and center, living out of suitcases, eating whatever came our way. Uh, and we realize that the only real currency that we're going to rely on as we go forward is our health. and our ability to keep up with our children as they grow old, right? And we realized also that that was top of mind for most of our friends around, right, who had picked up, 5 years ago, 7 years ago, 8 years ago, passions like running, cycling, swimming. Many of them are now doing triathlons. Many are ultra marathoners now, and we realized that to keep up with our children as they grow
As we
old,
started
right?
studying that space a lot,
We realized nutrition is actually one of the key elements of health outcomes that can actually be, that can actually have a large impact on long-term health outcomes. And that's the spirit with which we decided we'll launch Foodstrong. The idea was really to make everyday eating healthier for the everyday athlete, not necessarily for the sort of somebody who wants to really build out a muscular body or a certain body image, but really for people, folks like you and me, who really just want to live a healthier lifestyle, who want to pursue their passions. That was the idea behind the brand. And so we try to keep things as simple as possible, as transparent as possible, and as tasty as possible, because we know that at the end of the day, all of us derive a lot of joy out of our food. And we want to make sure that we continue to keep that joy in our lives.
That's certainly an exciting start, and it's not very often we get an opportunity to talk about the business owners, and especially those who are in the food industry, those are also connected in the nutrition world, and also in the specifically running an ultra marathon. So this is the first time when I had an opportunity to connect with friendly business owners who are also passionate about what they are doing. I think that's probably one of the first connections that we had when we started. I'm super excited by the thought process that has gone into packaging this product, right? So when we talk about whey protein or protein, there is a lot of fuss about it. I think it's a constant struggle for somebody who wants to lead a active lifestyle. So when we always compare with the cows and bulls, and they eat only grass, and but they are quite muscular and quite strong. But what's the big fuss about this protein?
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think I must say, when we started on this journey, neither my co-founder nor I actually were deeply into understanding nutrition, but we did have a sense of, spent a lot of time with consumers in the consumer markets across the different kinds of businesses. Um, and we realized that sort of eating habits across, in fact, my co-founder Karishma has been studying eating habits and consumer consumption habits over a decade in India. So she's actually seen the trends and changes that have happened in household consumption in India, both in urban and rural India, over the last 10, 15 years. And the reality is that, as shocking as it may seem, almost 80% of us. Okay, can you still hear me?
Yeah, I've lost the feed in between, but yes, please go ahead.
Sorry. Almost 80% of us, like I said, are protein deficient. And it's just astonishing just how prevalent the deficiency
Sorry to interrupt. I think your camera orientation has changed again.
has gone for a toss again. Okay, just give me a second, please. Apologies for that.
Yeah, this is okay now. Thank you.
Yeah. And as we were going through the exercise of actually exploring this more, some of these numbers just did not make sense. But we realized very soon that there were some obvious reasons for this. A lot of us are vegetarian, and so almost 90% of vegetarian folks in India are protein deficient. But the surprising part is even non-vegetarian folks, because of the nature of the non-veg that we eat and the frequency with which Indians consume non-veg, are also protein deficient. And so we spent a lot of time talking to consumers, of course, but also leading nutritionists in the country, and we realized that almost without fail, when a nutritionist comes across a new consumer, the first prescription to that patient is usually to increase the protein in the diet. And so that's why we started with really protein. And whey is nothing but just a concentrated form of protein where we've taken out the carbs and fats. It's just a derivation of milk. In fact, we specifically source antibiotic-free, hormone-free whey. The logic being that the milk that's used to make the whey is antibiotic-free and hormone-free. And that, of course, ensures that the whey also is antibiotic-free and hormone-free. So we're very focused on just making sure that it's derived from superior food and therefore creates a superior product. But it's nothing but a lot of the components of milk stripped of, shall we say, the carbohydrates and fats and sugars.
Okay, so it's kind of the isolated version of the protein in the milk. So
Absolutely.
that's what is brought to all of us in package form. All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the pleasant surprise that I had was when I received the sample, right? So it's great to see that a lot of thinking has gone inside packaging this, and also I always remembered receiving 2 pounds or 1 pound kind of bottles, whey isolates, and then now I see a cool package with clear instructions and what its ingredients are. So, what exactly went behind this thinking? How did you come across this idea of showing this, presenting this in this form?
Absolutely. So, I mean, a lot of thought has gone into the sort of packaging itself. Our primary objective was really simplicity. I remember one particular consumer comment really stuck with me. I was talking to somebody, and just offhand introduced myself as somebody who's looking at the space, and that person had just bought a box of one of the most popular protein brands in the market. And he had two specific comments. His first comment was, before he bought it, he had to practically do a PhD on nutrition before he could figure out what to buy, because a lot of the market was really ingredient oriented, right? You have all of these acronyms, 100% WPC, isolate. There's a lot of jargon, a lot of acronyms, big, blobs of telling you this is the amount of BCAA in your product, this is a pre-workout, this is a post-workout. So there's a lot of jargon in the market, which does confuse consumers and certainly confused me as well when I started researching the space. The second was that there is a lot of, from a packaging standpoint, if you look at it at the end of the day, what do we really want? We want to make sure that we're transparent in terms of what we're putting into the product. We want to make sure that people find it convenient to use, and that's why we went with it. And the third, from a packaging standpoint, of course, to make it as environmental friendly as possible. So all our packaging is actually, the outer packaging, which actually you see behind me, this tube, if you indulge me for a second, is actually a paper tube. And so we were able to get rid of those big plastic boxes, HDPE boxes that most proteins come in. And we actually substituted that for a paper tube. And to ensure that there's no food waste, we also realize that, people tend to look at plastic negatively, but actually food waste is an even bigger problem in our country. People buy these big boxes of protein, they consume them for a few weeks, it stays open, and then after a few weeks when they come back, they're not yet sure that the product is good, so it gets thrown away. And that really broke our heart, because, that's almost as criminal as dumping plastic, into the oceans. And if not more. And so we basically decided to go with single-serve sachets. Multiple benefits of these. The biggest benefit, of course, from a consumer standpoint, is you just need to open a sachet and put it in a glass of water or milk, and it makes the drink. You don't have to worry about how much do I need to have, am I going to get the right taste. A lot of that is taken out, and every sachet is fresh every time. So just for the benefit of everybody, this is kind of what our sachets look like. They come in little colorful sachets like this that you can consume across different flavors. And that was really the thought behind the packaging, right? The idea being that, we make it as convenient, simple, and as friendly to the planet as possible.
Okay, so now when we talk about protein, getting back to the conversation that we had around the role of protein is very, very clear: muscle building, muscle repair, and also the need for protein. The timing of the protein is important. So the general recommendations, if somebody is into running, post-workout nutrition, protein shakes and anything protein rich that could be naturally available for, or a whey isolate, or even plant-based protein. So there are different sources of protein that one can really apply. What about the rural households? We are now talking about the non-athletes or non-sports people. What about them? So are they also deficient when we talk about protein? Because we are talking about, I'm specifically referring to the vegetarians, because the non-veg lovers and those who eat meat generally tend to get the good quality or high quality protein, the animal source of protein.
Absolutely. I think the problem is even larger in rural areas, to be very honest. And the real core of the subject also is that the quality of food that we've been having over the last few decades has declined. So one of the studies actually that actually showed that the quality of legumes, for example, has declined by in terms of the protein content, available protein content, has declined almost 60% over the last few decades in India. So, when they say that your grandparents ate better than you did, or when your grandparents boast that they ate better than you, it's probably true, because it's not just that our dietary habits have changed, even the quality of food in terms of how much protein it contains and the nutrients it contains have gone down. And so certainly it's as large a problem in rural areas. In fact, fundamentally, even if you look at child growth and child development, it's one of those problems that needs to be tackled. And I think there have been some steps. Not that I'm an expert on the topic, but certainly there have been some steps, whether it's introducing eggs in the midday meal scheme, that definitely move more towards ensuring that there's enough protein in the diet, and certainly introducing dairy and eggs in the midday meal scheme goes a long way.
Okay. And do you believe that supplementation is the only solution?
We, I mean, look, there are many definitions of what supplementation is. Our core view, actually, fundamentally, is that at the end of the day, when we ourselves try to figure this out, it is actually very difficult sticking to the regular eating habits to get the amount of protein that you need on a daily basis. It is really hard unless you go on some really bizarre diets and you change fundamentally your eating habits. While that's possible, and certainly many people manage to do that, the reality is that efficacy of all of these things is really very dependent on keeping the habit. Right? You have to be able to keep this habit Uh, for a long time for it to deliver benefits for you. And therefore, our entire objective is that we create something that complements your existing diet and doesn't replace it in any form. So one of the things that we certainly never advocate is replacing the food that you're eating. The food that you're eating is extremely critical, and this is just something that adds on top of that. And so, for example, very very often we recommend people have our shakes between meals. Because you get a little package between meals, and this is a great drink to have, and it keeps you full between meals. So you can still have your proper 3-4 square meals a day that you have, and this is over and above that. From a philosophy, that's the philosophy that we like to advocate.
Okay.
To give to Yeah, and to give you some real numbers, Coach K, we spoke to a whole bunch of nutritionists just to make it a little more real for the viewers. Typically, it's advocated, and different philosophies advocate slightly different number, but anywhere between zero point 0.8 to 1 gram of protein per kg of body weight is usually recommended by most folks. This is for a sedentary lifestyle. This is just to make sure your body continues to remain in the shape that it's in, right? And if you are into some active workout, then that ratio keeps going up. So you need to have as much as 1.5 times um, your body weight in terms of grammage of protein. It's a very crude metric. Ideally, it's based on a slightly more complicated computation, which is based on your basal metabolic rate, etc. But fundamentally, it's a good thumb rule to follow. And if you look at the most healthy foods that you can think of, even like the tofus of the world or cooked dal, the ratio of energy to protein, the amount of energy that they have in just calories and other elements is extremely high. And so you'd have to eat a lot of it. You'll have to eat 3-4 bowls of dal, for example, to try and get to some coherent level of protein requirement. And especially if you're a runner who needs that repair to the muscles, you need about maybe 20 to 30 grams of additional protein in the day, which is pretty much what we gun for in our product.
Yeah. So the real idea is to get the complete nutrition value from the
Yeah.
macros, right? So you have the carbs, protein, and also the fat. Um,
Yeah.
Instead of looking, because if you really see the South Indian way of eating, most of the
Yeah.
household prepares a lot of rice. The consumption is rice and vegetables and dal a little bit in the form of sambar or curry. But if there is a wholesome way of looking at the diet and nutrition, I think each one of us will have to really look at our own food habits and do some research, develop some awareness, and see what we are eating in terms of the macros and micros, because it's really vital for our body function. But of course, so the protein requirement cannot be ignored, because that's something that is being uh, shouted on top of everybody's voice. We hear about this the requirement for protein as a very vital element in somebody's exercise and performance. Okay, so that cannot be ignored. And Now, when we talk about these sachets that you mentioned, so what is the weight
Yeah,
of these sachets and how much energy in terms of kilocalories somebody's going to get? Can you talk about, so
absolutely.
what are the ingredients? I see some colorful packets. I've tasted some of them.
Yeah.
It's always fun to hear the idea behind those colorful packets and what they contain.
Absolutely. Actually, a lot of the insights into what ingredients our proteins contain came in from some of the leading coaches, such as yourself, and across the country in terms of what are really the requirements for the everyday athlete. And to start with, the first and foremost, I think the core element was just the amount of protein that we can deliver in terms of the energy. So each of our shakes is less than 130 calories in terms of the total amount of calories that you get once you mix it in water. And you get anywhere between 24 to 27 grams of protein, depending on the flavor and the specific product that you go with. But you get about 24 to 27 grams of protein within that 130 calorie shake. So it's very efficient in terms of delivering protein to your body. But more importantly, what we did was we ensured that in terms of delivering some of this, we ensured that all of the ingredients that are there in our product are specifically ingredients that people understand, whose efficacy is not really, in question. Um, and you don't have to go and again do a PhD to figure out, why they're there. So one of the first ingredients that we managed to incorporate into the product, which is actually not something that's very common, you'll be hard pressed to find another product in the market, is turmeric. Well, I know, given the pandemic, turmeric, it's almost become like a ubiquitous Bollywood star who's in every advertisement. But pre-pandemic, the reason why we put turmeric into the product was really as an anti-inflammatory. What we realized was that whenever people go for their long runs during the week, coaches always advise them to have a glass of haldi milk at the end of the day. And the reason to have that haldi milk was actually you end up getting a lot of swelling and joint pain, especially if you're not regular with your runs, which a lot of us are not, and similarly with our exercise as well. And so turmeric is a great anti-inflammatory, and so we managed to make sure that every sort of sachet of our product, every glass of our product contains as much curcumin, which is the key element that is the anti-inflammatory, as a half a teaspoon of haldi, which is typically what most people add in a glass of haldi milk. So this is one of the first proteins in the market that actually has turmeric, and we still managed to make sure it tastes good. Um, all of our sachets also contain a little bit of green tea. Green tea, of course, is well known for its antioxidants, but it also gives you a little bit of an energy boost. Because again, as we spoke to consumers, we realized if you're not regular with your runs, if you're not regular with the gym, fatigue is a major issue, and that green tea just gives that little bit of a boost when you have it. And the third element in which is unique to our product is really we have real chunks of almond in the shake. I don't know what your personal views are on that. I'd love to hear it. But we decided that look, at the end of the day, this has to be delicious and healthy. And almonds are both. They're not only healthy, they're also delicious. And so again, this is one of the first few products, possibly internationally as well, that actually when you open the sachet up, you get real chunks of almond in the shake. And yeah, those are the key ingredients that we go with. All our proteins, again, to stress a little bit, are actually made with a specific kind of whey, which is a premium grade of whey, which comes certified as antibiotic free and hormone free. So we're very particular about that, and which ensures that, of course, the product is of a higher value. It has certain specific amino acids that are typically higher from a profile perspective that makes the product even more richer in terms of its efficacy. Um, and it's the product is not only about, of course, what you put in the product, it's also about what you don't put in the product. So the product has no preservatives, no added sugar, it has no trans fat, it has no GMO, it has no soy, no gluten. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that the product is free of.
Okay. For somebody absolutely beginning, is a beginner to whey proteins, so what would be a recommendation without getting into details of products and what are available in the market? So what exactly
Yeah.
they need to look at? So let's say if I'm like whey protein selection for dummies, so what would
Yeah.
those, let's say the top 3 or 4 things?
I think there are three basic things to look at. Specifically, what is the purpose for which you're actually having the protein? And that determines exactly the macros that you're looking for. So, how much protein do you need? Really, it comes from there, right? And whether the product that you're having fundamentally delivers that amount of protein, which is easily understandable. I think that's the most critical thing to look at. The second is in terms of authenticity of the product, authenticity of the brand. Unfortunately, because of the fact that these products are premium, a lot of the ingredients are imported. There is a worry, certainly among consumers in terms of the authenticity of these products. And we, for example, not to dwell on the issue too much, we go one step further where there is an authentication code in the product that not only tells you whether the product is authentic when you come to our website, we actually tell you the exact batch number and manufacturing date for the specific box that you're holding, just so that everybody involved, including us, knows that you're holding an authentic box, in your hand, and there's no counterfeiting of any sort. So certainly, authenticity and a well-known brand is something that I would highly recommend. And the third thing, which I would urge people to look at significantly is really, is it something that you can have every single day for a while to go. There is a lot of a tendency, having spoken to a lot of consumers and done this myself as well, that you tend to buy something that on the packet looks like the cleanest thing on the planet, it's the greatest thing on the planet. You bring it home, you start having it, it does not taste that great, it does not taste as per your palate. While you can sustain it for a week, maybe 2 weeks, but in the third week you'll stop having it, and that's really where that's the real determinant of whether the product is beneficial or not. If it's not going to be something you want to have for a long time, it's useless. And so definitely try the product out once, see that the taste is something that agrees with you, and then try the product. Those would be my top three recommendations in terms of searching for a protein in the market today.
And you, as a product maker, would you recommend the consumers who are interested in considering whey protein as a supplementation to discuss with their nutritionist and dietitianist before they buy? Or is there any
Absolutely.
age category? Is there any comorbidities to look for before they consume whey protein?
Certainly, I think any amount of supplementation or any form of supplementation, if you have any pre-existing conditions, specifically with regards to kidneys, for example, or any other conditions actually, for that matter, diabetes, it's always advisable that you take these supplementations in the larger scope of your current diet. Because at the end of the day, your nutritionist or your doctor is recommending a diet on the back of an overall approach to your food. And so any supplementation that you take should fit within that plan that the doctor or nutritionist has. So I would highly recommend it. I would also recommend that products like ours certainly you start at an age which is slightly more advanced. So maybe kids over 15 years of age is when you start looking at serious protein supplementation, and not before that. In terms of certainly the hardcore products in the market that you're looking at. And thirdly, what I would certainly advise is that in some cases people do have things like lactose intolerance or allergic reactions to some elements, and therefore trying the product out for a while and then upping the consumption is another trick that I would highly recommend. You start off with having it every alternate day, and then you increase your consumption as you go along. You don't have to on day one go heavy on a box.
I think the only safe is the sun is almost set. You need to turn on the lights.
Yeah, I will.
Losing
Cool.
your face.
Coach K, yeah, absolutely. Coach K, in the meanwhile, why don't we talk a little bit about the exciting goodie box we have for consumers for the Ultra Marathon? I'll just get the lights while we're at it. Yeah.
So let me. All right. So Avartan has brought a 40% discount for all the viewers. So there is a code here, UT Ultra Live. You can visit the foodstrong.co website and shop today. So this code is going to be active till 9 o'clock. Is that right, Avartan?
Yeah, absolutely.
And can you also talk about what exactly is this code applicable to? This code is applicable to all the products, or is it just on?
Yeah, absolutely. So this box you see here has an MRP of 2,000. Typically sells anywhere between 1,500 to 1,700 rupees on our website. Just for the next hour, we're giving these away at 1,200 rupees. It's a flat 40% off over the MRP. And you just need to use the code UT Ultra Live. Just go to www.foodstrong.co and just add these boxes, as many as you want. I haven't restricted the code, so as many boxes as you like. A flat 1,200 rupee price point for everybody who's on the call. It's live for the next hour. So as a giveaway, we decided we'll honor the community with a deep discount.
Okay. And certainly those who are going to run the OT Ultra will find this Foodstrong goodie as part of the goodie bag, right?
Absolutely. So, as part of the goodie bag, I think Coach K, you have one there. I can't quite see your video right now, but you will get a personalized sampler from me and Karishma with a little letter from us, with three sachets in a nice teal box like this, and each of the participants is also getting a specific customized discount code in their mailers as well as they register for the event. So, we're like I said, we're very privileged to be associated with this community. One of the great things is that we get to meet such passionate people and learn from them. And so for us, it's a real joy to be associated at a very personal level with the
I
community as
see
well.
this connection to be very special for OT Ultra because when I conceptualized this idea of OT Ultra, it was always about creating a most memorable experience, right? So you
Yeah,
all those who embrace the lifestyle of running and fitness and endurance, we also like little celebrations to mark certain milestones in our life and running a 15 kilometers or 30 kilometers or 60 or 90, the distance doesn't matter, right? So it's kind of a personal achievement. And then when you
yeah,
complete it, so there is a celebration, and that celebration usually is much huge now when you go and participate in real event. Unfortunately, this year the
yeah,
UT Ultra is not going to be a real event. I personally am not a happy soul talking about virtual events because it doesn't give that kind of real kick, right? So the camaraderie, the opportunity to come and meet other runners, and then it's a kind of union of all like-minded people coming into one place and
yeah,
then sharing their experience. And of course, you also have the little boasting right to talk about. So what your PRs and PBs and why you enjoy running.
yeah,
It's not always the
yeah,
records and medals. So I think that opportunity is not going to be there. So that's one of the reasons why I decided to really, really connect with brands who are excited about this Woody Ultra, the spirit of this run, and be part of this entire celebration. So I would call this Woody Ultra this year is just you're going to be running if you're going to be running, and I hope I want to see you running, Avartan and Karishma,
absolutely,
and then
absolutely,
the
yeah.
entire team. And
Absolutely good.
I think that's the only benefit of conducting a virtual event, even as an organizer, as a founder, as a race director. I also get to run this event and also celebrate. So this year, the goodie box is definitely going to be a treat for all the participants. So now, one question that is coming from the live. So, is there any supplementation? Does it differ between men and women? As you briefly talked about little children above 15 years old could have, but
Yeah.
is there any specific recommend for women athletes and also those who are homemaker but not so very well active due to various reasons? Not everybody can
Yeah.
be active, and not everybody
Yeah.
is active. So, do you have any specific recommendation for women in general?
Yeah, I do. Actually, we did look at this actually in terms of whether products need to be specific to women versus men, etc. There are obviously nuances to the answer in terms of physiologies being different, but at the core of it, really, the requirement for protein is not very different between men and women. It's really about ensuring that at the end of the day, whether it's a uh, whether it's a man running a marathon or it's a woman running a marathon, they're running a marathon and their muscles need the protein. So at the heart of it, really, both genders require protein supplementation. Of course, what varies at the margin is potentially the average weight that people have, but that's more to do with the individual than the gender. Right? I mean, somebody like me who's barely 50 kgs in weight does require a relatively lower amount of protein supplementation than somebody, let's say, who's 60 or 70 kgs in weight. I think the only thing that I can talk about, and certainly we can dig deeper with some of the more knowledgeable nutritionists in this area. But certainly the source of protein is something that one should look at when looking across genders. So in some cases, certain sources of protein, so for example, are not really recommended from women from a perspective in terms of the amino acid profile and the final impact that it has on the entire hormonal balance. And so in certain cases, and it's quite easily, you can look it up. The source of the protein is something that one must look at. And so again, more to do, less to do with gender and more to do with individuals. It is possible sometimes that a certain source of protein does not agree with you, and so the best thing is to try it, see the results, and if it doesn't agree with you, it doesn't agree with you. So we're very clear that there are people, for example, in full transparency, who for whom whey does not agree. They uh, they have a tough time digesting whey, or they have issues with whey. And while it's a very small percentage of people, but there are consumers like that who we frankly then recommend saying, look, let's try other sources of protein. This one doesn't work for you. Yeah. I think the other question that you were asking was in terms of homemakers. I'll just take 10 seconds to address that. Certainly, even in that case, protein supplementation is required. Actually, we are short, like you mentioned, with our eating habits in terms of protein. We also make a specific product by the name of Shape Shakes. The entire thought behind that product is really to replace some of the unhealthy, tea time snacks that people tend to have with a more protein heavy snack. And the real logic for that is really to help people who have a slightly more sedentary lifestyle balance their intake. So very much think that they need to as well look at their protein supplementation.
Okay, great. So we have just shot off 2 or 3 max questions, and I'm going to request those who are watching this live session to post your questions at the comment sections. We'll be happy to pick those questions and also ask Avartan to respond. But in case if we miss those questions, we'll certainly request Avartan to respond through the comment section. All right.
Absolutely.
Avartan,
We're happy to. We do have a set of empaneled nutritionists who work with us, who we consult ourselves. So if there's a question I can't answer, rest assured we will go back and
yeah,
get
we'll
the answers.
leave it to those
in the
experts to
community.
respond. That's really
Yeah,
great.
we'll get you the answers for sure, either ways.
Thank you. Your brand is just a few months old, and I'm sure the pandemic was a bit crazy. I don't know what exactly was your experience to launch a food startup business in the middle of a pandemic.
It's been an experience of a lifetime, one hopes. In terms of it never having to repeat, it certainly was a very interesting experience. We launched bang in the middle of a pandemic, and so fairly interesting experiences. So there was a period of almost 6 months where I did not physically meet my co-founder Karishma. Everything was through Zoom calls. There are a bunch of people who've been working with us for almost a year now in terms of partners, whether it is food technology partners or people who help us with our design, who have never met physically and probably will not for a year to come. And it's been great working with all of them. Our first employee was hired off a Zoom call, and we did not meet her and one more, both of them actually, the first 2 employees, for a period of 4 months. That was my first physical interaction with them was after 4 months, through the pandemic. So it certainly was a challenging period for us to actually start a brand that period, because it did throw a lot of spanner in the works in terms of getting things done. But the amazing bit was that somehow the pandemic brought a lot of empathy through everybody. I think we just became more empathetic as a people throughout the pandemic. So whether it was our supplier partners, whether it was even consumers for that matter, people have just been a lot more understanding in terms of how things work, a lot more flexible in terms of making decisions and using other means to actually get work done. And it's been fascinating, and one of the greatest sources of joy for me and Karishma has been actually engaging with, for example, the running communities themselves. Of course, during the pandemic, running completely stopped. A lot of people could not pursue their passions, but we spent a lot of time talking to running coaches, and they went out of their way, you being one of them, Coach K, but they went out of their way to actually help us, connect us with the rest of the community. We had many of them who turned around and said, look, I will make sure that a lot of the community is introduced to you, but we want to make sure that these 4 underprivileged athletes, are supported at the end of this exercise. So it just seemed like the pandemic, while it physically took everybody apart, but somehow managed to bring everybody closer in some ways. So it's been a great learning experience to be honest.
That's really wonderful. I have more questions coming in, Avartan.
Yeah.
Are there any side effects of consuming whey protein, especially if somebody is having kidney issues or water intake? I'm not sure. So if you could talk about that.
Correct. So specifically, you should know that there is such a thing as a kidney overload with protein. For a healthy individual, actually, that is a very large amount of protein. You really need to overload on proteins to 3x 2x, 3x of your body weight on a daily consumption basis to actually stress your kidneys. However, if you do have a certain kidney condition, a chronic kidney condition, then you need to talk to your dietitian or your doctor before you start consuming any kind of protein supplement. The real reason is, uh, the processing of these proteins, kidneys do get, you put a stress on your kidneys, and so it's very critical that your entire diet, including your water intake, is something that is controlled. And so, before you take any supplementation, whether it's our brand or any others, if you have a chronic kidney condition, we would highly recommend you talk to your dietitian. But for most other people, most regular individuals, protein, for you to actually stress your kidneys out, or put them under any kind of stress, it takes a lot of protein. It's a hell of a lot of protein before your kidneys get into trouble.
One more question: is there a best time to consume whey protein? What's your
Uh,
recommendation for the food?
uh, on this one, I differ from the known wisdom. The general wisdom for consumption of protein in general, not just whey protein, is that you consume it within 2 hours of whatever physical exercise or run that you have. Right? That's why it's called a post workout or a post run shake. The logic behind that is that that's the golden hour in which the body can absorb the proteins and use them to repair muscles, etc. Um, I have a slightly differing view. I feel that while if it's something that you can do, that you have the protein within 2 hours of having exercised or having run, it's a great thing. But convenience and habit trump all of this, right? At the end of the day, if you're able to ensure that you're able to keep the daily habit going, even if it's not within those 2 hours, I would say just ensure that you're keeping the habit going every day. That the protein consumption in the day is maintained.
Yeah. I think post workout consumption is generally referred in the fitness industry, and especially
Yeah.
if you're a gym goer, if you're into lifting weights, or even playing a game of football or finishing your run, come back. So the body is the muscles are utilized, and then the protein synthesis for that to happen. So the protein consumption is really important the post workout. Okay,
Yeah,
and then
absolutely.
again, also there is a question on can I have whey protein on the days that you do not work out? See, the
Yeah.
protein consumption generally should match with whatever your body requires, right? So in terms of your grammage, whether it is 0.8 grams for the kilogram of your body weight, or 1 gram depending upon your athletic activities and your
Yeah.
fitness profile. So I think the consumption of protein in natural form is something that should continue every single day. There is nothing like a one
Correct.
day without the protein, right? So if you really look at the recommendations coming from all the fitness experts and nutrition experts, and you can actually say that a plate, if you look at the my plate recommendation, so every meal should have carbohydrates, every meal should have protein, every meal
Correct.
should have fats and dairy. So the micro macro nutrients composition need to be happening. If you're As long as you're having whole food, healthy food, I think every single meal there shouldn't be worry about when to consume, or when is the right time, or should I consume protein on the days when I'm not
Yeah.
exercising.
Correct.
Okay.
Absolutely. I think the simple thumb rule to remember, which I don't know if most people are probably aware of, is that protein is the only ingredient that macro that the body can't store, and so you almost have to treat it like a daily recharge, mobile recharge, where if it gets over by the end of the day, you have to recharge the next day. So whatever's consumed that day is you're done with. So every day, that's why every day you need to ensure you get enough protein.
So one last question, Avartan. What exactly is Foodstrong headed towards? What's the road ahead? What are your plans in the coming years?
I wish I knew the answer. We keep evolving as we keep thinking about it and learning every single day from our consumer interaction. So we definitely know that the way forward for us is to ensure that we continue to make genuinely healthy food. We are very much against food that pretends to be healthy, but is not really. And so we want to continue to push the boundaries as far as the dichotomy between something being healthy and yet being tasty, because the typical wisdom is if it's tasty, it can't possibly be healthy, and we want to keep challenging that across different forms of food, really, for us. And so, and that's really our mission, right? Can we make the existing diet for consumers healthier in some way, so that they can continue to still derive the joy of having great food while they go on. So we're starting with these whey protein powders. We're looking at other forms of protein, other sources of protein. We're looking at there is a lot of possibilities out there. As with most startups, we love to dream, but we hope that as we keep coming along and we keep engaging with the community, we can keep launching more exciting products that hopefully bring you joy.
Thank you so much. It was
Thank you, Coach
having you in this session, live session. It's
Thank you.
also very special. That
I
was
hope
the first live session for Uti Ultra,
thank you.
and I'm really happy to have you here and wish you all the best.
Thank you so much, Coach. I wish everybody, joining in, as well as the rest of the participants, good luck with their marathon, and I hope you achieve your personal bests or whatever it is that you're gunning for. Good luck. I hope you really enjoy your runs, and thank you again for the privilege, of being here as well as being associated with the community. We learn every day, and we hope to continue our association. So thank you so much, Coach K, for giving us this opportunity. Really appreciate it.
All right, thank you, and have a fantastic
Thank you,
evening.
everyone.
Before we wind up, a quick reminder. This is the discount code that you can use today at the foodstrong.co website, Uti Ultra Live. 40% discount flat on all the products, and the discount code is valid till 9 p.m. today. With that, I would like to sign off from this. Wait for this real Ultramalaivasi experience that's going to start from the 1st of April. So the registration link is open. So we've just crossed 400 plus registrations. A lot of the runners were registered the last year, so they're coming back. I'll be extremely happy to see all of you coming and enjoying another wonderful Uti Ultra experience. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye. Good night.